Hello and welcome. Fantastic to have you here. We've got another great session on for you today. And I think it's really relevant to where we are. You know, everybody's going through so many different emotional levels right now. You know, while we're being isolated, we're remote, we're cut off from our normal life. And we're doing things a lot different than we were a couple of months ago, right? So I want to talk to you about stress. Now, we've mentioned before that, some people think that stress is a good thing, right? It gives you adrenaline, it keeps you driven, it gets you motivated and all those things. When the more research I do and the more people I talk to that are gurus in this area, I've realized that stress is never good for you. So let me talk to you about what stress is, and then let's talk about how we can avoid it. So when we go into stress, it's what our bodies are meant to do with regards to putting us in a position of fight or flight, right? So when we had to run away from the dinosaurs and all that sort of stuff, that's what it did. It flushed all our brain with these chemicals, adrenaline, cortisol, and it made us take reasoning off the table. And the only two choices we had were to fight or flight. And that's what we would do. So it's a psychological reaction that occurs when you are terrified, or, you know, whether that be mentally or physically terrified. So when we think about that, you got to think, well, what sort of cost has that got on the body, right? Because that's going to have a cost associated with it. So what happens is when we get really stressed is that response is triggered by the hormones being delivered into your body, which I mentioned before. So you've got adrenaline and you've got cortisol. And that prepares you to either stay and deal with whatever threat there is, or to run away and get away from it. That's your fight or flight. But if we have a look at the physical effects of increased cortisol in the body, it's been proven that it has these effects on us. So it interferes with our learning and our memory. So it does interfere with parts of our brain and shuts them off. It lowers our immune function. It lowers our bone density if we do it over an extended period of time. It can increase our blood pressure. It can increase the risk of depression and mental illness. It can lower our life expectancy. So that's all to do with the adrenaline and the cortisol rushing through our bodies when we get really, really stressed. So the other thing that we have to remember is not only do we have to deal with this fight or flight response that we're getting, but it also has those long ongoing things. So, you know, when you feel people have been stressed for a long period of time and suddenly it comes out physically, you know, they get ill and sick and, things starts to break down. This is what all these chemicals do to our brain. And too much cortisol, it actually hijacks our amygdala. Our amygdala is the part of the brain which helps us reason, which helps talk us down, which helps us stop catastrophizing. And cortisol hijacks that so that we don't have any reasoning. So really, really important to realize that stress is never good for you, right? So we have to think about that. Stress is a response to an event. It's not the event itself. So you might find yourself, you're under pressure, you've got lots on, you're moving house, it's coming Christmas time, all those sorts of things. So what triggers you into being highly stressed? You know, some people it's, waiting in queues, or it's, being late, or it could be Christmas time. You know, all those sorts of things makes us trigger a response, right? And then we label it, and we label it with stress. And when we label it with stress and we have that response, all of a sudden, all of these chemicals are going to be released that we don't want released. So I guess the thing that I want you to have a think about is what gives us negative emotions? What is it that is our triggers? Some people, it's when they go to the dishwasher and it's been stacked wrong. So, true talk. That's what some people have told me. And, that can be stressful, right? Some people it is waiting in queues or waiting in lines. Some people it's, when they think they're going to be late or when others are late. Over promising and under delivering, lots and lots of deadlines on at work. All those sorts of things can make you feel like you've got some negative emotions. But if you can look at the way you think about it and say, hey, yes, I'm under pressure, or yes, I've got lots on, or yes, I'm going to have to work out my time management a little bit differently, or you feel a trigger coming on because you're in a queue and you know that's a trigger for you, you can start talking yourself down and start thinking about what you can do before your amygdala actually gets hijacked by the cortisol. So it's about stopping it, recognizing the triggers and going, wow, this is going to happen to me if I don't do something about this. So what do I need to do? What do I need to put in place? So if you're in a queue and you're waiting in line, maybe what you put in place is, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to put my earphones in and listen to a song. Or I'm going to strike up a conversation with those in front or behind me. Or whatever it is to distract you from tumbling down into that feeling really pressured and stressed, right? So this is what you've got to do. Find out what the triggers are. Find out what you need to do to stop those triggers. And then try and talk yourself down before the cortisol and adrenaline overtakes your reasoning power and starts putting you in a position where you're actually doing harm to yourself. So I hope that helps, okay? What are your triggers? Is it being late? Is it waiting in line? Is it Christmas? Is it, financial pressures? Is it feeling isolated? All these things. So if this is something that spirals you down, what can you put in place? So we've talked about being in a queue. What about being late? So when we're late and we can feel our bodies start to get a bit tense, what do we need to do? Ring somebody up, say, stuck in traffic, doing this, going to do that. Catastrophize it. Talk yourself down. So what's the worst thing that can happen if I'm 5 minutes late to this meeting? What's the worst thing that can happen? People think I'm late. And remember, when you get to that meeting, you're not going to say sorry. You're going to say thank you for your patience. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your understanding. It changes the whole dynamic, okay? So I hope that helped. Remember, stress is never good for you. If you consider yourself under pressure, try and talk yourself down before you get hijacked. All right? Hopefully that will help you. And good luck. And everybody stay safe in this time. We've got to look after each other now. So make sure that we look after each other. If you've got any issues, concerns, worries, then contact us here at ask@teamleadertoolkit.com and we'll be able to throw a video like this one together and hopefully give you multiple solutions. All right, so until next week, we'll speak to you soon. Cheers. Bye for now.